Previously on Dragon Ball Z, David was boring you half to death with aggregate supply, and before that, he was boring you literally to death with aggregate demand. Now, let's see what happens when you put those two things together. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Just messing around with you. As you probably know, I made two boring videos on aggregate supply, aggregate demand on in Chapter 9 and 10. I didn't even finish Chapter 10. I'm just going to go ahead and skip that because I'm going to go back to it later, maybe. Like I said, this test is tomorrow. I really want to ditch class tomorrow, just play zombies or something in the morning. Or play with some subscribers. Ditch my HCOM class because that class freaking sucks. But that's okay. Chapter 11, Managing Aggregate Demand with Fiscal Policy. Fiscal policy is basically the government spending, their involvement in the economy. I will get the definition. There is no definition. I have the definition in my notes. That's really good that my teacher says we have to memorize. My teacher's really lame. Whatever. She's really fat. She's really annoying. And, yeah, she's really bitter. But taxes shift the consumption function. Okay. Obviously, increase or decrease in taxes have a multiplier effect on equilibrium GDP. So like the multiplier effect I was talking about, aggregate supply, and if you increase C, I, G, any of those things, that will cause a multiplier effect if you do an autonomous change. Well, it turns out taxes are the same way. If you increase taxes or decrease taxes, it makes an autonomous multiplier because it actually ends up changing your disposable income. If you decrease taxes by $100 billion, then there's $100 billion more in the economy after that change. But taxes end up actually doing less for the economy than government spending. If you increase government spending, then it actually helps the economy more because it has a larger multiplier effect. You get more GDP from government spending versus when you do tax cuts. But that turns into the question, how much control should government have? Should government be spending so much money on the economy, or should government leave us the fuck alone and let us do whatever we want with our own business and our own thing, and not tax us? Not necessarily tax us, because this isn't involving taxes. This is just government spending. If government spends more, even if they tax $100, spend $100 on whatever, ends up that government spending is much more effective than taxes ever are. So if you're in the debate whether decrease taxes, increase government spending, it must be increase taxes or increase taxes. I can't even think right now. It is currently 11:30, and I have more work to do. This also, guys, keep in mind, I'm giving you a super overview of these chapters. These are very long chapters, and I spend an hour and a half in each class period where we get through probably half a chapter, and there's many equations and things and graphs and pictures and graphs and lines and points and dots that are here, which sounds like child's work with lines and coloring things. Actually, there's no coloring, but actually it's very serious work. And I'm just trying to get a basic summary into my brain so I remember it. It turns out that, like, I think you learn 60% more 60% more information by teaching it to somebody. So I'm kind of thinking I'm teaching it to you guys, and I'm getting off on a tangent now, but I think I'm teaching it to you guys, so that actually makes it easier for me to study. Even though you guys might be bored of this, and it's probably embarrassing for me, so I probably won't be posting any more of these unless you guys actually enjoy it for some reason, then that would be really dope. I try to make these a little bit funny, which, I think I'm funny, but I don't know if other people think that I am. So, I'm basically 2 pages into this chapter. This is pretty embarrassing. So, tax multiplier. Tax multiplier, basically, you have, say you cut $1 billion. So you have $1 billion more of disposable income at your mercy. However, people save part of that, so you got to keep that in mind. So say we get a $1 billion tax cut, $900 million would be spent, $100 million would not be spent and would not go towards GDP. That is what ends up hurting the economy. So government can decrease their taxes and give us $100 million more $1 billion more to spend, or they can increase spending by $1 billion, which would essentially do the same thing, and we would get every penny of that $1 billion back into GDP, which would end up helping the economy even more. which is why there's that debate between Republicans and Democrats. Which should you do? I don't know, because one of them wants to control everything with their government rules, and actually, I don't know, they don't really want to do that, but some people just think that, you know, it's more the thing where you back off from the, yeah, I keep repeating myself, I think. So, let's see. Tax multiplier, yep, I just explained that. Normal portions taken out before because of savings with tax, where government doesn't have to deal with that, because all of that goes straight towards GDP again and restarts through the cycle. Reasons why the overwhelming formula overstates. So these little formulas, they give us these little easy formulas, which are basically there to help us understand the concepts and all these things. When they just make it simple like this, it's just for us to understand the concepts, the basic concepts of macroeconomics. This is a very low class on the macroeconomics scale, or on the college scale. I'm in my second year here, so I still have 2 more years to go. My 4th year I'll probably be getting into a lot more in-depth things with more variables, but here's the reasons why these oversimplified formulas that they give us for the multiplier, and how much more interest and all the autonomous changes actually affect our economy, is that, one, it ignores the variable imports, which is, you know, when we're importing, exporting based off of the GDP of different economies, other economies actually strongly affect ours, which is why tariffs are a very important thing. But it's basically ignoring those variable imports. It's also ignoring price level changes. It's assuming that these price levels aren't changing, or if they're changing, that we understand where they're changing to, which we have no idea of where they're really going. So there's no way for us to really predict those things, which also reduces the multiplier. All these things are reducing the multiplier. So variable imports reduces the multiplier. So say we had a multiplier of 5, it's probably actually around 3. Price level changes, and it's probably around 2. And then it ignores the income tax. We have an income tax which doesn't really get included into this, but that also decreases the multiplier. So it's probably actually a multiplier about 1.5. You spend $1, it actually ends up helping the GDP, in 1.5. For our economy, it's 2. It's, with these oversimplified formulas that they have, it's estimated to be 10, and in our economy it's actually 2. So you can see that it actually decreases a lot from variable imports, price level changes, as well as income taxes. Those things bring it down. There's automatic stabilizers in the economy. What the hell is that? Tax changes have a smaller multiplier effect than spending changes by government. I was already talking about that. Automatic stabilizer. The automatic stabilizer is a term in here. I guess I didn't read it, but it is a feature of the economy that reduces its sensitivity to shocks. Oh, okay, so the automatic stabilizer is basically the economy, or rather the government gives us an income tax. They give us these things where it actually is a shock absorber. So if there was inflation, or if there was an increase in prices and stuff, because we're actually getting paid less, it actually really hurts the government a lot more than it hurts us, which is actually kind of a good thing. If we got a major inflation going on, then it's actually going to take a toll on the government. It's basically like a shock absorber. It's a trick for the economy, so we aren't affected as much. We can still have about the same level of purchases, even though it does hurt us. It does help us a little bit. As well as unemployment insurance, you know, if we get unemployed or anything, they'll help us by giving us like that shock absorber. And then Great Depression in the 1920s? Yeah, must have been that after World War I. No, it must have been the end, about 1929 maybe? The end of the 20s? I think that was when wow, I'm sorry I don't know that, but during the Great Depression there wasn't all these things in place. It was just, everybody thought the economy would just fix itself and all this stuff, but they were in that drought for, yeah, it must have been the end of 29 to the beginning of the 30s, because that was when Hoover was president, etc., etc. So unemployment insurance, yep, that's good stuff. That helps you out. Shock absorber lowers, but this lowers the multiplier, so actually it's less of a multiplier on you. Man, I got through almost nothing here. Transfer payments. Transfer payments are like government subsidies, which are like food stamps and stuff like that. They help the economy, which basically counteracts taxes. So you take taxes away, they give us money back. 7 more seconds. Raising government purchases, reducing taxes, increasing transfer payments are all ways to affect this equilibrium where we are at, to help the economy get back onto equilibrium. Those are the different fiscal policies. If you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead, tell me below. I'm not trying to be just get this so I get more views and stuff. I'm just honestly want to know what you guys think about this little series I got going on here. Really does because I don't want to waste my time doing this.
And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Much appreciated.